Welcome to ZKast, everyone. I'm Zscaler from ZK Research, and I'm here at Zenith Live 2024 in Las Vegas. And I'm here with Shelly Kramer, who is a ZKast vet, also a managing director of theCube Research,
yes.
For which I'm CUBE alumni. So this is kind of a weird back and forth thing here. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, we're besties.
Yeah. So instead of me being on your show, you're on my show.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm glad to be here.
Okay.
So this has been a fantastic event.
Yeah, it has been. It's Zscaler's annual user event.
Mm-hmm. Zenith Live.
A few thousand people here. There was a lot of announcements here.
Crazy amount of announcements.
I mean, there was too many to even keep up with, right? So,
in
fact, I think there was too many for them to press release all of them. So, what were the ones that stuck on your mind?
You know, some of what I'm interested in is things like, you know, I had an interesting customer conversation yesterday, and he was sharing sort of what he sees as the value prop for Zscaler's solutions, and how for him they've displaced Palo, which I thought was kind of interesting because Palo Alto.
I've heard that from a few.
Yeah, so I think that that's a significant feedback from customers, and I always really enjoy that customer feedback. I think that, you know, for me, some of what I really like are the AI ML services that they've developed, and that's all around, you know, digital experience, policy automation, something called Risk 360, breach prediction capabilities, which is really cool. And we were in this session earlier where they were walking through a dashboard that can show you sort of breach predictions, and it's so cool because you can instantly see, you know, there are 5 users that are potentially compromised in this funnel, and so you can, you know, the whole point of everything Zscaler's doing is quick discovery, quick remediation, you know, automating things as possible. So I think that's really impressive. And I'm kind of bouncing around between announcements. I also, I really enjoyed Deepan Desai, their chief security officer's presentation. I thought it was very funny, and he was one of the last ones, and he talked about just, you know, well, saving the best for last. But I thought his presentation was a really great overview of some of the innovation that we're seeing from Zscaler. And closing with Brian Krebs on security is always, I don't think you got to see all of that.
I missed that,
but Brian is also always amazing, so I was really glad to see that they brought him in. One of the things that the CTO talked about, and you'll probably remember, it was one of the 2 CTOs that was toward the end of today's presentation, but he talked about the mobile app. So this is, you know, you when you're a CTO, a CIO, a CISO, I mean, these are stressful days, right? And so being able to have an app that you could just quickly look and see everything that's happening within your instance.
There's been very little crossover of mobile and security historically.
Yeah. So I was really excited to see that, and I was excited to see his enjoyment of that. And, you know, part of it not only shows visibility into your own operations on device, but it also kind of pulls up recent news. So things you might not have, you know, you're up at 6 a.m. or whenever, and, you know, you can just quickly look at this, see what's going on, but you can also see news that's happening so that you can quickly be aware of what's happening in the world of cybersecurity and maybe alert your team. So I think that's a pretty cool new offering.
Yeah, I thought some of the stuff on day one was interesting too, around the data management and data security.
Yeah, the data fabric.
Well, digital resilience has been a big theme. In fact, if there was a sub-theme to RSA below AI, it was digital resilience. And I know Veeam's event was last week. They talked a lot about there, but more from a backup perspective. And when you think about Zscaler, they've historically been about securing connectivity, right, with you know, ZIA and CPA and things. But this gets them into a much different level of discussion, because now they're securing data, so data at rest, you know, data in email. They're not trying to compete with the proof points of the world, but they're trying to secure the payload. AI data and the data in the cloud. And that's a different type of solution for them. I think it does fit in, though. I met with a CISO for one of the hotels here yesterday, and he was saying that from his perspective, digital resilience starts with blast radius containment, which Zscaler does a very good job of.
Right.
And then if you get breached, though, then you think about how to manage the effects of it. And so Zscaler can now help shrink that attack surface, but then also protect the data if a breach does occur. So I thought it's an interesting adjacency for them, not immediately obvious, but does move them into a different type of market, and I think it underscores the value of the Zscaler platform.
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
I agree. And on that front too, in terms of expanded relationships, one of the bits of news was about an expanded partnership with Google.
Yeah.
And so Zscaler has had relationships with Microsoft and AWS, and to some extent Google. But I think we're seeing a much bigger play with Google on being involved and partnering, developing alliances with companies like Zscaler. And one of the things that we're starting to hear a lot about is browser-based security.
Yes.
So Chrome, extensive use throughout the enterprise. I mean, that's the gateway to, to threat actors, to problems, to things like that. So I was really glad to see the news about that.
Yeah, it's interesting that market's not new. Companies like Menlo Security have been around a long time. And in fact, I went to their sales kickoff this year, and they've seen a resurgence of interest in secure enterprise browsers. And I think one of the big tipping points has been now you don't need a replacement browser. You can continue to use Chrome, but they can secure that within there. And you're right, it's the first point of access for a lot of companies.
Browser's the new endpoint.
Well, it is.
It's not, and it's not really new, but it is an endpoint that all of a sudden we're seeing a lot more awareness about and interest in. So I was glad to see that relationship.
Now they did have a fair amount of AI here, but they didn't hit us over the head with it, like I thought they might. And but they did address both sides, the AI for security, but also security for AI. And I thought they actually spent more time on security for AI than, because they announced a lot of the AI for security before. But now they're talking about how to secure the AI payload. And actually, as companies start dropping more data into OpenAI and ChatGPT and things, I do think that becomes more important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that one of the things that I enjoyed, and I don't know if you got a chance to see this, but one of the things that Brian Krebs talked about was just how far-flung threat actors are, how easy it is. And one of the things that he was saying is that it used to be, if you wanted to do dirty deeds and play AC/DC at the same time, that you had to speak Russian, you had to have a connection. It was hard. And now you can just go on Telegram, and I'll share a screenshot in a follow-up article that I'm going to do. But you can just go on Telegram and very quickly and easily see all of the different possible partners you can work with, or ransomware as a service offerings, or whatever. So it's really understanding that. We have these conversations all the time throughout the industry. Threat actors are moving incredibly quickly. So there really isn't, and they're motivated by different things than they were in the past. In some instances, they're not as motivated by money as they are in making a splash and getting attention. We're seeing that with some nation-state actors and things like that. But the other thing is that this is a path to financial security and revenue growth. And why sit around when you can quickly and easily use AI to make these things happen? And one of the things that it wasn't Brian that talked about this. It was someone before him, but it was Deepan.
Deepan,
But he was sharing the voice-based phishing attack that was directed to Zscaler's Jay Chaudhry, and it was like so his voice being delivered to an employee, directing them to do something and things like that. And I think we're going to see so much more of that. So understanding that that's happening and figuring out how to protect against that, I think is really important.
Yeah, phishing's one thing, but when you get into some of those, that's a lot tougher, right? So you've got to, I'm not sure how you protect against that, except with AI. And so one of the last things Deepan put up was you need AI to fight AI. And I believe that's true. I think these companies still trying to hold back their use of AI are going to fall behind pretty quickly. I think, my big takeaway from the show is that Zscaler has actually figured out how to make security easy, right? That's never been the case. Deploying security has always been very hard. I was talking with one of their customers here that's using Zscaler Private Access with the VPN replacement to be able to connect doctors to radiology systems. Now, historically, he said that process saw VPN, multi-factor authentication, sometimes it would call, and when the doctors were in a rush, they'd make mistakes. Now you just turn the computer on and start working, right? And you can draw that analogy for what they've done with internet access and what they've done with, SD-WAN. And even when you think about the proxy architecture to replace firewalls, if you're trying to protect against east-west threats with firewalls, you deploy a lot of firewalls in a lot of places. Now you just you don't have to, because you've got the zero trust in place. And so that was probably my biggest takeaway, is that security doesn't have to be hard. You just need to use the right partner, and I think you do need to take a platform approach.
Yes.
But if it's done correctly, it can actually be somewhat easy.
Yeah, I agree. And one final point on what we're relying on in terms of protection. You mentioned MFA, two-factor authentication. One of the interesting parts of Krebs' presentation a few minutes ago was just that it is so easy to circumvent that and to grab those tokens, those credentials, and then you can't get them back. It's very, very difficult to work around that. So understanding that if you're just relying on MFA or 2FA, it's not enough. And so if your security team is thinking you're good, maybe explore that a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's troubling, isn't it? Since
is.
all our banks and stuff use MFAs.
It is troubling, yes. But I do think that the platform approach in this instance and the totality of the features baked into the Zscaler platform is really pretty compelling.
Yeah, so.
I like it.
All right,
Great
anything else
event.
you want to add?
I don't think so.
I think we both have sessions we got to get to. So on behalf of Shelly Kramer from theCUBE Research, I'm Zscaler from ZKast Research, saying thanks for watching. As always, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time on my next episode of ZKast. Thanks, Shelly.
Absolutely.